Welcome to the House of Legends podcast, where great women become exceptional. I am your host, Graciela, founder and CEO of the House of Legends by Graciela, a mindset coach and mother of three beautiful kids. My mission and passion is to provide you with the tools that will allow you to unlock and bring out the best version of yourself, which is the key to all change. Some of those tools are mindset, identity work, and emotional mastery. Not only that, but I will also bring you powerful conversations with legends like you, showcasing their journey, life work, and allowing us to learn from their experiences and insights. So don't miss an episode. Tune in each week to the House of Legends podcast and let's unlock the power of your own legend. Let's dive in today's episode. Welcome back to the House of Legends podcast. In today's podcast, we have an amazing woman, Madison Rose. Oh my gosh. Before we press record, we were talking about, by the way, she's pregnant now. Or she's pregnant with a baby girl, and we're expecting her on November. And one of the things that I was sharing with her that I've been following her life work since 2020. So she's pretty young, and she has changed her life in a big way. We're not diving into that. Madison, I will say, more than the titles, she is a teacher. You can call her life coach, personal brand mentor, but I think that she's a teacher because she's been walking the path. And once we walk the path, we can teach from experience. With that being said, Madison, by the way, I remember before we dive in right here, I remember that she was asking a question about like her dad being single and who wants to be the girlfriend of my dad, and I asked, I want that. So I was almost to be I was about to be her stepmother, so we weren't talking about
That would have been quite the
no,
story.
I was this close, ladies. All right, Marison, if you can introduce yourself, let us know who you are and what got you to where you are right now.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Graciela. So my name's Madison Rose Crossan. I just got married in May, so we are Crossan now. My former name is Dalmaso, but we're going by Madison Rose Crossan. I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited to dive in, share some things, and hopefully leave people better off than they were before they listened.
Mm. Madison, I would love to know, first of all, when, and I know a little bit of the background, but many of my audience, for some of them, maybe they follow your live work, or some of them you will be totally new. I would love to know when this idea, when your dad, because your dad, we know that your dad was the first coming across this information and getting involved. What was your first thoughts when you saw your dad changing the results and how you got involved in the first place?
I was 18 when my father started studying with Bob Proctor
Mm.
in a program called Thinking into Results. And at this time, I was looking forward to graduating college. A lot of
Mm.
my friends were going into nursing school or becoming doctors or lawyers, or they were becoming, firefighters or going into the FBI. Like they were doing all of these careers. They knew what career they were going to embark on, and I did not. I did not know what I wanted to do. Picking a major in college was terrifying for me, so I never declared a major. I always stayed undeclared and ended up graduating in business.
Yeah.
When my dad bumped into this information, that's where I was. So it just so happened that I was at a point where I was searching for answers. I was wondering what my purpose on the planet was. I was wondering what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I was asking myself some pretty big questions. For example, are we really meant to work 40 years doing one thing and then retire and croak? Are we really meant to live life so in this linear fashion. It just did not sound
Good.
nice to me. It did not sound good to me, did not sound inviting to me. The thought of climbing the corporate ladder terrified me because I saw people in my family who were in corporate who were absolutely miserable and complained about it all the time. And on the other hand, I didn't want to be an entrepreneur or a CEO or a boss either because it sounded scary. The only entrepreneurs I knew at that point were my parents, and they were both very traditional entrepreneurs. And
Mhm.
so they had built businesses that really were demanding and controlling of their time and freedom. Even
Mhm.
though they were successful, that still was not something that I wanted to do. I did not want to have a business that ran my life. I was
Well,
at a point of a crossroads, really. And so I was trying to figure this life thing out. And it just so happened that when my dad introduced me to this information, the first mentor we ever really listened to, or the first teacher we ever really listened to, was actually Jim Rohn. And I'll never forget, I started listening to Jim Rohn in my car. It was a CD tape on his book, The Challenge to Succeed. It was called The Challenge to Succeed by Jim Rohn. And I started listening to it in my Volkswagen Jetta. And it was so boring and it was so dry listening to these old men talk about success and achievement. But they were saying things that were sparking my interest, that were piquing my curiosity. Like you can be, do, or have anything that you want. You know, we become what we think about. Um, you don't have to continue doing what generations in your family have been doing for forever, right? You have the power to change because you have the power over your mind. And so I got really interested in personal development. And thankfully, I don't know why, but thankfully, I just really took interest to it at 18 years old.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that is
18, 19, 20, around there.
that is an amazing journey, and thank you so much for sharing because one of the things that I realize that sometimes we tend to follow all the tradition, the culture of or listen to other people of the things that the things that we're supposed to do, like or uh, career wise, getting married or things like that. But when we start questioning ourselves, when we start like you said, questioning the teacher, the answers appear in one way or another. And I love the fact that you said for one and for you were part of actually both worlds, having family members going through the traditional education, uh, and on corporate, and having your mom and your dad as an entrepreneurs, and you were like, it has to be something more, it has to be something that feels right. And like you mentioned, has no linear, like 40 years working 40 years and just enjoying yourself after 65. It's like it doesn't make any sense. It's like going to work 5 days and enjoying two. It's like this trade is kind of is out of balance. But we are so accustomed to the culture, or to just to see or get influenced by others. But when we, like you mentioned, when we start questioning and taking our power back, is when we open actually the doors for things to coming into. And I do believe that you are really well, we all are the ones that we are attracting this information, privileged to have this information. But you being 18, 19, that is amazing. Like, oh my gosh. I don't even remember when I was 19 or 18. I don't know where I was, like on my even the process of thought. But I think that having this information at early age, it also comes with a bigger responsibility, because you're not only reprogramming your mind, you're not only following a new path, but you also at the same time uh, disrupting the status quo with your friends. I would love to know how they were responding to you when you came across to this information. You were start changing, they start seeing some results. Because on my end, when I start seeing some results and producing things, there first they were like gossiping, thinking that I found Jesus, thinking just random things that they don't even knew. But when they start seeing the results, they were asking me, how do you were doing it and things like that. So how was your experience in that sense?
That's a really good question. To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't think I ever paid too much attention to what other people thought about me.
Love that.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't remember ever being too concerned with what people were going to think about me because I was on this journey. I really don't. I really I don't remember ever having fear posting about it on social media. I remember feeling excited and empowered, like I
Mhm.
knew something other people didn't. I don't remember ever having fear or feeling ashamed because I was different or being judged. So I don't know if I ever went through that. I don't think I did. What I will tell you is that about a year ago or two
Yeah.
years ago now, I was sitting with an old friend from high school, and she was telling me that about what people had said about what I was doing. You know, I talk about God, I talk about money, all in the same sentence. And for a lot of people, that's very taboo. You know,
Oh,
I talk about being able to become a millionaire in your 20s. I talk about being able to build a business on your own terms and create a life of your dreams like I have truly done. And it's triggering for a lot of people. So apparently there was chitter chatter behind the scenes that I just didn't know about. But I felt it. I felt a dissonance with them. I felt just a separation from them, and it was never anything that I created or that they created. I think it was just I was just on this path and I could not be stopped. And I was so lit up about where I was going that I just didn't pay attention to what other people were thinking or saying. And I think it's even now, I don't get upset hearing that people thought, of course they're going to think things, right? Like people are entitled to their own thinking and their own judgment, if they will. And
mm.
and that's it. And that's none of my business, you know?
Oh my God, that is so powerful. And I love that your thought process because sometimes, and that this was my case, I used to get it kind of engaged because of my family members or people close to me that they were not even paying my bills, but I was still there, right? But having that I will say I'm not going to mention the word control, but having that focus on where you're going, I think that is such an amazing gift because you
Yeah.
can tr- that to your to the people to the woman that get to enjoy your life work because sometimes like like we have this when we discover this information we are so excited we want to share with every single people with every single family member but sometimes they're not ready and like you mentioned they're entitled to do that to think whatever they want and
I definitely went through a phase where I was trying to change my family and close friends for sure.
mm,
And I realized quickly that it did more harm than good.
yeah.
So I pivoted. I don't remember when, but I remember learning from experience that I just needed to love them for where they were at and also take where I was and where I was going off a pedestal and stop looking at myself or this information that I had as better than what they had, but that they were just truly on their own journey. And if along their journey I inspire them and they start asking me questions, then of course I'm going to help them and be there for them. But until then, it's just my job to keep rising and love them for who they are. And um, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
it's like yeah.
yeah, you mentioned something really amazing that I would love to highlight because we are both coaches, mentors, guides, and you mentioned about your nor being in a pedestal or you nor having like hey I know this information you're low vibration not
Hmm.
around you because whatever
Hmm.
the fuck right how you came across that how you because sometimes we can feel that way especially in the first stages the first months like I know better I don't want to be with that person around because this is low vibe and things like that how you neutralize that thought of like, hey, every single one is in their own journey. I do have access to this information. I'm going to attract the right people by doing my own work, but I'm not going to feel that I'm better or less than other people. How you were able to land to that frequency, to that place?
Hmm. I just started to realize that the conversations that I wanted to have with the same friends that I had always had were very different than the conversations that they wanted to have.
Mm.
Naturally, I just started wanting to talk about things that they didn't really want to talk about. And so it was less about, oh, they're in a low vibration. And it was more about, I'm just interested in different things now. I
Oh,
have different interests. So I never made it about them not rising or them not being as cool as I was or as good as I was or anything like that. I was just like genuinely, I'm just not interested in going to the bars and drinking. I don't like alcohol and I'm gonna just take a stand and I'm just gonna stop going because I don't enjoy it, right? So
oh,
it was less about, oh no, I can't hang out with them because if I hang out with them, they're gonna change me or, I'm gonna become them or whatever. Because I think the greatest asset that you can build through personal development is your ability to remain in your own
oh.
lane, no
Mm.
matter where you are, right?
Yeah,
No matter where you are. If you're still struggling with that concept of people pulling you out of your own alignment or people controlling how you feel or ruffling your feathers, that's a you problem and it's your responsibility to work on that.
yeah.
So I just genuinely lost interest in things that they were doing and I got interested in other things. And yeah, it was a little bit, maybe other people might say lonely for a while, in the sense of, I wasn't going out with friends every week or hanging out in huge crowds or anything. I was more so just doing what made me happy.
Mm. That is so amazing. And
Yeah.
the way that you put it, uh, Madison, is just so clear. And because sometimes we try to like 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 you mentioned, try to put the like I'm not gonna go there because of this of that. And all comes back to our responsibility. All comes back to doing the work and like you mentioned, being able to be anywhere in any environment and just to hold our frequency, hold our power, don't feel triggered. And if there's any kind of move reaction, immediately get back to ourselves and see what is going on. I think that is one of the most amazing gifts that uh, this work does for us
Yeah.
when we do the work. I would love to dive in a little bit here as well. I am I like I mentioned before, I've been following your journey since 2020 when you were with your dad in different businesses, and I would love to know how was that journey for you, to getting across this information, learning, of course, walking the path, and but how was that what was that moment that that thought that allowed you just to say, you know what, I want to teach this and I want to do it in a bigger way?
It was when I would say, manifested, but
Yeah.
I guess I did manifest it. I just am careful with how I use that word now. But I was driving off the lot with my brand new white Range Rover that
Oh,
I
I
had
remember
been
that. I remember that. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
that I had been thinking about and working towards and quote unquote manifesting, which
Yeah.
just means focusing upon until I had it and becoming the person who was going to earn the money in order to pay for something like that. And within 6 months of focusing on that goal, I was driving off the lot with it. And it was a more expensive car at that point that either of my parents had either of them had driven.
Yeah.
And I also, during those 6 months, I wanted to manifest my purpose
Mhm.
because I was still in that phase where I wanted to know who I was and what I was meant to do here. And so when I first started working with Bob
Yeah.
alongside my dad, the first thing that we did was go through a program together, our first real personal development program. And I was just like, I'm either going to prove that this stuff is a bunch of baloney, or I'm going to prove that it works. And if it works, then my life has changed. And if it doesn't work, then hey, I gave it my all and I'm good. So I gave it my all. And that moment for me was when I was driving off the lot, and I knew that my early purpose, the first
Mm.
rendition of my purpose, was to just scream this information from the rooftops, because I just could not believe that I had confidence issues and doubt issues and worry and anxiety and oh my gosh, just not good in the mind for my childhood, my high school years, college years, worrying, doubting, fearing, like not having direction. And then to just feel so at peace and so confident with where I was going. I just wanted everyone to be able to feel that way. So I decided to start teaching others at that point after I had had my own experience.
That is so powerful. And correct me if I'm mistaken, all right? Because it was kind of a long time ago. I remember that you mentioned about that manifestation, and don't be afraid to use that word. Like we are only attractive people that are in harmony with this material. But when you were saying about your manifestation, you were mentioning, and correct me, like I said, that you have in your bank account $800, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, like, and coming from that place to having your that beautiful car. By the way, that is a car that my dad wants, so I'm thinking about you in that.
Oh.
It turned 65. I don't know, I or 64. So anyhow, but that was really, really impressive. And when you mentioned another important point that is actually key when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Sometimes, and most of the times, when we are thinking about having our own business, we want, of course, helping people. We want, like, hey, I want money, I want income, which is an effect. But we forgot about the main deal, which is, why are you doing this in the first place? What is your purpose? And I remember that you mentioned in, I don't know if it was at that point a video, because reels were not that like right now, or it was a post where you mentioned about one of the first thoughts that came to your mind. It was like, I would love to be a model, I would love to, and correct me if I'm wrong, right?
God,
And
it's
then
probably a YouTube video. They're still up.
yeah.
Yeah.
and and then you mentioned that, well, that is one thing, but I think this is deeper. And I just mentioned this because people watch what you watch the journey. Like I said, I will say no silence because I've been watching your journey. But when you shop, when you are like vulnerable like that, hey, I'm working on my purpose, people grab those words, those phrases, like I did it myself, like those live in my own on my mind since then. And I think that is incredible to put that as an intention or as a goal. If we're not fully secure what is our purpose, it's just like, I would love to know what is my purpose, and just put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
When we do that, and one way or another is gonna come back.
Yeah, 100%. It's evolved since then. Now stepping into motherhood,
Business.
running a business and a team and, having clients and married life and all the things. My mission is still the same, but my purpose has become a little bit wider in the sense that my purpose is just simply to rise. We came up with a slogan for our brand last year before I lost my father and had two miscarriages. We came up with the slogan "Through it all, she rose," and I just had no idea. I had no idea what that phrase was going to take on for me over the year of 2023 and 2024. And so my purpose now is simply just to rise through life, through motherhood, through business, through being a CEO, taking care of my body, right? Life, leadership. It's just to keep rising. That's my purpose. My mission is more so tied now to helping other people understand this and create a life where they get to run a business if that's what they want to do, that they're really excited about and they're passionate about, or to just get into a job that they're really excited about or passionate about, right? Like, we don't need to be entrepreneurs in order to have this amazing lifestyle. But I believe, in Earl Nightingale used to say this, the definition of success is the progressive
Very
realization of a worthy ideal. And so it's like the mom who decides to be a stay-at-home mom because that's what she wants to do, well, she's a success.
Mhm.
The gas station clerk that decides that he wants to do that for the rest of his life, that's success. You know, the young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed girl who wants to build her business and inject this information into everyone's butts, like that is success. So helping people be able to create their own little heaven on earth is my mission.
That is so wise. I have to say something, and I know this is more of the woman behind the business. You mentioned about the miscarriage, and I think that is it's huge. I did have one 11 years ago, and I'm always when the day gets closer, I always think about that. So, but even with those moments, with those experiences, we learn so much. And one of the things that I've been seeing in the last few months as well in your journey, Maddie, that you were great, amazing. But now the woman that I see now is just wiser. It's just another level. And yes, the word rising together is, or the phrase is just it's just you. Like
Mhm.
I can feel the growth in all areas, not only as the amazing woman that we get to learn on social media or through your live work, through the workshops, through the events, but I can feel the woman. And I think that when we radiating that, not only more clients come, not only we have better relationships, but everything gets to change. And I just love that so much. And I just wanted to remark that because that's it. That is
Absolutely.
incredible.
I couldn't agree more. You know, you see people who reach multi-millions and they create an empire, but you know, their emotional intelligence is that of a squirrel,
Mm.
or or
Yeah, yeah, definitely,
they don't
definitely.
have healthy, family relationships, or they're in a marriage that's, has infidelity or has communication problems. And, you know, after watching so many people build these empires on sand, I've just realized that if you're gonna build it and you're gonna build it once, then you better build it the right way. And the way to really do that is by working on who you are before you try and achieve and manifest all these things. It's like, do you like the person that you are, and how can we work on that first? Because then when you manifest the car and the money and the business and the husband and the family and the things, it's like it's like the cherry on top.
Yeah,
It's the cherry on top. And if all those things get taken away from you, you are still powerful and you are still you and you are unchanged. But if you build your life or your business from the place of needing to prove something and needing to achieve these things in order to build this picture of success for everybody else and tick off the boxes, so to speak, then when you get there, God forbid you lose one or two of the things, or money goes down, or you have a hard time in business, or God forbid there's a season where you have a lull in life, right? It's like the sandcastle crumbles because it's built on sand because you haven't worked on the self that's behind it all, you know? So,
yeah. You mentioned the key, which is ourselves.
yeah.
All come back to ourselves.
Hmm.
I think that many of us in business, not only in business, but also here as a woman, we have so many things going on. But when we are working in ourselves, we can have those seasons where I call it dry seasons, but those dry seasons don't touch you. You actually navigate those with grace. And I'm not saying that we enjoyed every single challenge or things that remove themselves from our experience, but we don't get attached. We know that
Mhm.
it's always working out for in our greatest good. But when we arrive to that, I think arriving to that self mastery is it's actually one of the main. I'm not call it goal. I call it intentions because
Mhm.
when you mentioned this really clear. When we arrive to this place, everything can be taken away from you, but
Mhm.
you're no longer um, you're no longer attached to that. You're no longer. I'm not gonna say that we don't feel. We we feel, but we have this emotional intelligence or mastery. We have mastered ourselves that we know that it's just it's just part of the journey. And I think in that moment we are powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like to say I am who I am no matter where I am.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I am who I am, no matter where. Can you
I
repeat that
am who I
again?
am. I am who I am no matter where I am.
Oh God, that landed so beautifully. And I believe that the listeners will really enjoy this because it's not about the what it is right now. It's about who you are. I mean, we can be anywhere and we can
Yeah.
change the energy of the place. But if we let what is outside, what is the bank account or the client, the number of clients that we get to help every single month dictate how we feel or who we are. It's like you mentioned, it's having no it's having we don't have a proper foundation and we're building on sand. And when something small arrives, it can shake the whole thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not like going for those things isn't fun, right? Like I love achieving new things and experiencing new levels. It's just my identity and my worth is never in them, right? I will never idolize money or fame or reputation or, anything over who I am and honestly my relationship with God.
Mm,
Because if you can sit solid in who you are through your creator, then it's like we're born into this world naked
yeah,
and we leave this world naked with nothing.
with
And
nothing.
so all we take is our souls. So everyone comes in the same way and leaves the same way, but what you do take is who you become while you're here on earth. And I think it's a tragedy that a lot of people go the majority of their lives trying to build these glass houses or these sand castles that look really nice to society and look like success to society, but they never really get to create. And I'll go back to what I said before, their heaven on earth because they're just so focused on conforming to what the world thinks success looks like.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I love so much as well. I think, and I didn't highlight this when you mentioned about the success because sometimes we see what other are doing and we think like that is success for me. But when we step back and in the examples that you mentioned about the clerk on the gas station, the woman that
Mhm.
wants just to have kids and be a housewife, that is success. And sometimes we tend to like judge of like they don't have ambition, they don't have goals, they don't maybe that is what they make them happy and that is
Yeah,
success.
that's the person's own insecurities of why why not? Why isn't a stay-at-home as successful as a woman who decides to become a multimillionaire? Like it's whatever the person wants. And for me, I know in the past, when I felt judgment towards a stay-at-home mom or a woman who was in a relationship with a very wealthy man, it was all just from programming, from what I had heard from, my mom and her sisters and women in the world of like, oh, well, if you're with a wealthy man, you're a gold digger, or if you're
Mhm.
with a wealthy man, then you're not strong and you're not independent, and who needs a man? And stay-at-home mom, like please, you can work, you can take care of your kids, and you can do everything. Like women can do it all. And I think that's just so toxic.
Yeah,
And the only reason why I ever looked down, unfortunately, at women who chose that lifestyle was because I didn't think that I wasn't allowing that to be a possibility for me.
Oh, you mentioned something really allow that to be a possibility for me to be.
Like in my mind, I thought, well, I can't like, oh my gosh, they're doing that and they're being taken care of. Like I can never do that because then I'd be weak and I wouldn't look like I was independent and I wouldn't look like I have it all together. And
Mm.
so because I had these internal attachments and strings attached to what it would mean if I was like that, I was not allowing myself to have it, and therefore I was judging other women who had it and had it easily.
Oh, that is so profound and that is so huge. And actually, that um I remember an analogy that Abraham Hicks shares, and I know you're familiar with her. Actually, you mentioned one word, croc, which she refers
Funny
to the big,
story. I've loved that word. I used to love frogs when I was little, and
yeah.
frogs croak, right? And so me and my dad used to say that word all the time. And so when I heard Abraham say it, I just thought it was the funniest, coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so fun. And this is another nice part of being here. I mean, you get to share like with kind of like the same language here, like Abraham Hicks, Bazaar. So there's so many teachers right there. But going back to this analogy, or she was putting an example that this lady, there were two sisters, and the first one, she seems like everything was just coming to her, the rich man, the it was everything was just easy, and she was doing nothing. And the other one, it was like working really hard. She
Mm-hmm.
really had any man to look at her and all those things, and she was said everything is fair because it's just the essence that you're putting out there. And the one that was bringing the man, that was bringing the money, she had no judgment towards that. And the other one that was so judgmental about that, she was not getting nothing because she was coming from lack, from judgment that we said. I just wanted to mention that. It's,
Yeah. And now that I'm married, I've married a very successful man who's also very handsome, who's also very athletic, who's also going to be an amazing father, who also is a provider, who also takes care of me, who also pays for the majority of our life. And I still earn my own money and I still run an empire and we're still scaling to multi-millions and we just crossed what did we? We're almost at 1 million in our business and we're doing better than ever. And he makes me even better than I was without him. And even stepping into motherhood, I'm not going to stop my business. I'm going to keep it going. I'm excited to keep it going. I love that I get to keep it going. And I have the option to stop everything if I wanted to.
oh, that is so incredible, my son. And I was about to say, how do you get that? And I know that. I know the answer. You became the woman. You became the essence
You've got
of
to stop
that.
making such a fuss. Stop making such a fuss about the people who have it and have it easily. Truly. Now, women will say, well, you're so lucky that you found a man like that. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Do you
I
know
guess
how many
you are
frogs?
frogs. I have to keep you.
Do you know how many frogs? Do you know how many relationships I ended with that were completely fine that my family thought was great and I just ended them because I knew it wasn't the one? Like, do you know how much I've worked on myself? Do you know what I was not willing to do? I was willing to never get married and never bear children if I didn't find a man that was perfect for me.
Oh, that is so wise. I needed to hear that a couple of years ago. But now, thanks God. Like I've been single. I've been single. Oh God, I've been single now for 8 years. 8 years, girl, 8 years. But I started working on myself. I started competing in bodybuilding, all those things, working on my body, releasing 90 pounds, all those things. So I think I'm becoming that woman. So slowly but surely we're getting there.
You're incredible.
At least in that area, at least in that area, because right now, like you said, I'm really uh, mindful about the people that I get to like interact with. And one of the things this could be another whole topic. Like we have so much here, but one of the things that stop me choose to go on dates or things like that. It's like actually when you have an interaction with another person, you share 50% of the consciousness, and I don't even know who, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna go just being jumping around. Like I was like, no, no. I, but might as well focus on myself on different areas. So, but I by you having that amazing partner, that means that you are that amazing partner as well, Mari. So,
Yeah.
and I do believe that it wasn't easy. So I
No.
just really I'm seeing you, and I know that if I see the proof, I see the manifestation. So
Yeah.
we we all deserve a man a husband like yours, but we have to.
Everyone does.
Huh?
Everyone does. He's absolutely phenomenal. And I'm absolutely phenomenal.
And you are, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's it.
And
That,
so, it's not like I wake up and do nothing and, all of a sudden he's there. It's like, you do. You have to do some work on yourself. If that is not an easy outcome for you, then there is some work to be done. And it's not hard work. It's just it's a journey. There's a journey that you've got to go on, right? Especially if that hasn't been normal in your family.
yeah.
That was really not normal in my family. My family is very, boss woman type independence, almost to a fault. And so it was extremely abnormal
Mm.
for a woman in my family to marry someone who was better than her in multiple areas. So,
But now
yeah.
you are creating a new paradigm, a new
New paradigm, baby.
culture. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
New culture. Oh my God, Mari, this podcast was really amazing. By the way, before we wrap up, I would love to ask you this question that I always ask my guests, and now I know what is that, but I would love for you just if you can share it. What is your superpower?
My superpower.
Yes, your superpower.
Hmm.
We have so many, but one
My superpower.
superpower.
My superpower is my connection with God.
Mm.
I would not have anything without that.
And I would love to enhance that. I would love to share more
Hmm.
about I think one of your superpowers as well, Maddie, and I'm just seeing this, is that you make people feel, and I think it wasn't the intention of this podcast as well, make feel so good about themselves.
Oh, that makes me very happy.
I mean, even just sharing this podcast, you make people feel so good about themselves, and you are able to transmit that because you are so grounded of who you are
Hmm.
and what you are for. And I think having that gift where you can feel when people can feel your energy, your presence, when people really feel good and not ashamed for, let's say, I don't have the perfect relationship,
Yeah.
I just have all the other areas to thrive in, but this is not. So when I feel even good, even laughing, it's because you're providing that safetyness, that safety place, that strong, steady, beautiful energy that we get to relax. So I think that is one of the superpowers as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
All right, Mari, if you want to say, by the way, if you want to share, where we can find you, what are the ways that we can work with you? And by the way, I'm going to put that on the details of the podcast as well and on the video. But if you can mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram, my username is official Madison Rose, Rose. You can find me if you type in Madison Rose Crossan on any social media platform, you'll find me there. And work with me. I work with people in life and or business. They tend to go together
Yeah. Oh,
very
yeah.
well, as you could see from this conversation. They tend to extend into each other. And we have programs and services from $77 a month to free to, multiple five-figure investments depending on where you're at and what support you need.
I love that. And by the way, I saw your post and I just wanted to mention here because sometimes we don't you mention that after the podcast. I just want to congratulate you for the 50K on TikTok. I think
Thank you.
that
Yeah,
is
our TikTok
amazing.
community is growing.
Yeah. And the most important part is that you are not reaching only more people, but your life work, it gets to be
Mhm.
seen, it's just that is some of the most amazing part. Because when we go to TikTok or Instagram and we see an amazing woman like you, we tend to like, hey, watch, and we share. Even if we don't comment, even if we don't like, even if we don't follow, we share. And that is amazing
I
because
love that.
we see that.
I love that. Thank you so much, Graciela. This was such a treat.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And by the way, like we mentioned, I was about to be, I was this close to be your stepmother. So
Well,
I was laughing the other day when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, how, how confident I was to do that. Like, just like me, I was offering
no,
myself.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I think I showed him your profile, but I think he was on a hook at that point already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That lady. Yeah. Oh my God. And I was on bodybuilding back then as well. So she was on bodybuilding, I think.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's going to be part of the podcast. This is kind of the conversations. I'm not going to edit this part. It's going to
My dad would have loved you. He would have.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Mari. It was
You're so welcome, my love. Please reach out if you need anything or yeah, anything at all. Don't be a stranger.
amazing. Amazing. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in the next. Thank you so much for being here. Your presence is greatly appreciated, and it truly means a lot to me. If you could support us by leaving a 5-star review, it will help us to connect with more extraordinary and influential women like you. With that being said, thanks once again, and let's look forward to an amazing and legendary week ahead.